Greetings from the far side of the galaxy. I'm Fury, your alien host with the most, here to bring you a story about ghosts. Cursed spirits technically, but they're basically the same thing. Today, we're looking at Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 146, about the calling game. Not a very creative title if you ask me, but let's move past that and get into the review. The first thing we learn is that there are 10 different areas in which the game is being played called colonies. They make note that Hokkaido is specifically excluded due to being a sacred area. This could be a reference to the Ainu community which was mentioned in chapter 0. I'd actually be really glad to learn more about the little enclaves of sorcery that aren't exactly aligned with Jujutsu society as a whole. And the Ainu as a people are pretty cool, much like the manga Golden Kamuy, which references a lot of Ainu culture. You should read it. Or else. Let's hope Gege is pointing to places the cast will go after we finish this calling game arc. The chapter also establishes that the rules for the calling game aren't ironclad. They tend to actually miss people who don't have a curse technique like Maki. This also means that Yuji will be excluded from a lot of the rules unless it counts Sukuna and his technique, which might set up a bit of Sukuna action down the line. The most important caveat to the rules are in the final two. All it takes is the good guys getting 200 points to save the most people. They only need to make two rules. 1. Every player gets 1 point a day or something like that to make sure every player's point value changes to get around rule 8. And 2. Any players can exchange 1 point to leave the game. This will not only allow them to save Sumiki, but save themselves and others as the calling game comes to a close. Maki also briefly mentions Kumiya Juzo to Tengen, and I'ma be honest, I had to use the wiki to remember who that was. Remember that coat rack guy? The one who made the hand sword? That is Kumiya Juzo, or was, considering he's probably dead. Juzo may have had some ability to imbue items with powers, explaining how the hand sword can move on its own when that wasn't the user's technique. He might have some super dope items stashed away in his workshop. Maybe something on the level of Playful Cloud? It's also mentioned that Fushiguro is going to raid the Zenin storehouse for cursed tools since he's now the leader of the clan. Maybe we'll get to see the clan in full and have further conflict with Naoya in due time. Then it's recommended that they find the Grim Reaper of Paris, Kenji Hikaru, the only third year at Tokyo Tech. Anyone who gets that reference gets a cookie. Anyway, I'm surprised they didn't get him sooner. It's not like suspensions matter when your school doesn't really exist anymore. Regardless, I have to wonder if Yuta's being honest or humble by saying Kenji can become stronger than him. Does he have some sort of juggernaut technique that makes him stronger the longer he fights? I remember reading comments that perhaps Kenji has some sort of probability technique based on his name, but I'll save looking into that for the Kenji analysis later. The group settles on having Yuta enter the colonies to observe the goings-on and keep an eye out for Sumiki before the chapter suddenly cuts away. We meet the failing comedian Takaba Fumihiko, who obviously has Nanami's ratio technique. But how did Takaba get an innate technique which can't be inherited? Well, considering that people were turned into sorcerers by Mahito's technique, it should have something to do with Mahito. And Nanami's biggest interaction with Mahito was when he got killed by him. Press F to pay respects. So now I ask, who else had a cursed technique that Mahito killed? I'm talking about the shaman who should have been Tokyo Tech's 4th freshman, Junpei Yoshino. Gege-sensei is the kind of evil that would make Yuji fight against people who inherited Nanami and Junpei's cursed technique. And that concludes my review for chapter 146. All in all, Gege is going out of their way to set up major players of the calling game while splitting up the team. We might not actually get the calling game for some time as each pair splits up to fulfill their mission in the remaining 10 days. Regardless, I'm sure it'll be damn good to read. Like and subscribe to stay up to date, and check out my other uploads if you'd be so kind. This is your host Fury, ending transmission.